Greetings, everybody. Welcome once again to the Rec Poker Podcast. As always, sponsored by Running Aces Racetrack, Casino and Hotel and website AMP. In this chat edition of the podcast, we're going to hang out with Duncan Palamourdas. He's a math genius. He's a math tutor. He's a poker coach. He's an author, all kinds of really cool stuff. And I'm excited to introduce him to Rec Poker Nation. First, let's introduce our panel. My name is Steve Fredland. I go by Rec Poker Steve in the home game. And I've got a quote from Albert Einstein, which is appropriate for our panelists today. He said, "Pure mathematics is, in its way, the poetry of logical ideas."
And I'm Chris Jones, 5x5 on PokerStars and Twitter. And I had a poker first this weekend. I cracked 2 pairs of aces.
In the same hand.
In the same hand.
Nice. Well, I'm Jim Reed, Bluff Storini in the home game, and I'm just happy to be here.
Nice.
And I'm Rob Washam, and I'm Radman50 everywhere. And poker is alive and well in Las Vegas.
We'll have to talk about that more. Yeah, well, thanks guys for jumping on here. Thanks to the folks that are in the chat. A couple of quick things that we want to share. Obviously, we'll share more of this in the back end, but want to make sure that you're aware of these things. First of all, by the time this airs, we're recording this January 18th. It's gonna air on the 26th, which is the day before. So if you're listening to this when it releases, it's the day before the award show. The Reckies are here, our first annual award show. It's going to be a blast. We have so many pros that have submitted videos. It's going to be so much fun. So check that out on the website, rec.poker/Reckies, RECIES, and get all the information there. And then our Fareed Jatton training course is coming up as well. Starts January 3rd. I was hoping to have a special announcement to share with you. Let me look. Oh, I can't share it. I haven't gotten it. Maybe later in the show. I'm waiting to get a text back on who the special guest coach along with Fareed might be. So hopefully later in the show, I'm going to have that announcement for you all. But with that, let's bring him in here. Duncan Palamourdas. And I was reading about you, Duncan. Man, it's fantastic, some of the stuff that you've done. So let's just bring you in and tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're calling in from.
Sure. My name is Duncan Palamourdas. Actually, my birth name is Konstantinos Palamourdas. So that is 23 characters between my first name and my last name. So everybody just calls me Duncan, and everybody's happier that way, including myself. So it's easier to communicate that way. But all jokes aside, I'm technically mathematician by trade. That's what I've studied pretty much all of my life. I still study every day. But I'm interested in applying mathematics to various fields, and in particular, I was incredibly interested in applying it to poker. So for the past, I want to say, like for the past 6 years at least, I'm almost full-time working on the mathematics of poker, essentially. So it's one of my, I guess you can call it my specialties. So I'm really interested in applying mathematics when it comes to poker.
Yeah, I'm super interested in all of these pieces of it. I'm curious if kind of which came first, the poker or the math. Like, have you been playing cards since you were a young child, or did that evolve sort of as you were looking for games that involved math? Or tell us about the poker journey a little bit.
Right, that is actually a very interesting question, because I've been interested in games since I was a kid. So one can say that games came first, but then there's a lot of pattern recognition in games, and we take maths from really young age in pretty much around the world. So in school, so math also came pretty early in my life. So it was all about pattern recognition, but with the extra kick to it that I was always interested in winning, whether it was figuring out the solution to a problem or checkmating my opponent, because I started with chess at the beginning. So, but we would play 5-card poker for as long as I remember myself, around the kitchen table with friends, family. So and it was a blast. I mean, I love games since I was a kid.
And so, I mean, I'm a math guy myself, not to your level, but I was an actuary for 30 years. And frankly, it was abstract algebra that made me realize I don't want to go do a master's. Like that was good. I loved it until abstract algebra, and I saw some of your stuff. I'm like, okay, this guy wasn't bothered by abstract algebra. But I noticed that, you're teaching poker at UCLA, which is super fascinating. Were you teaching at UCLA before that, or was that the inroad into UCLA?
Yeah, I mean, I taught some classes as part of my doctorate program. I taught some classes at UCLA before, and math classes. But then, one thing led to another. That's quite a long story, but one thing led to another, and now I'm teaching regular poker classes at UCLA, which I'm very happy about.
So are you, I mean, I assume you're teaching it from the perspective of, okay, poker is a medium to learn the
Correct.
mathematics of it, or are you teaching it in a
Both.
way that you're actually teaching people to become poker players?
Correct. Actually, that is, I mean, usually, again, it's funny that you mentioned that, because my goal has always been, to kind of like sneak the math under the table, so try to realize to people, sometimes when math can get in the way, right? I mean, it's so technical. There's so many numbers involved, and especially people who are not math majors, sometimes they can be confounded with all the symbols and everything that's going on. So I'm trying to use metaphors and other ideas and to sneak them into essentially the game, and people realize that they're doing they do math without realizing it, essentially. So that's what I'm trying to do. I don't always succeed, but at least I'm attempting to do that. So
So is it just, are the courses that you offer? And I know everything I've seen says they just fill up right away. People are super interested, which,
Yeah.
as somebody that went through math programs, you're always looking for teachers that can make things interesting, because not all math teachers are good at that. So is it part of the core curriculum, or is it sort of people
these
that
are
aren't math,
electives. No, these are electives. Yeah. So
all
these are
electives?
electives. Yes, but I mean, I'm trying to make it part of the main curriculum, and then some people can take the classes for credit. We're not there yet, but I'm not going to give up anytime soon. So
I'm curious, and these guys will chime in. I said, oh, I see Jim has a question, but let me ask this first. I don't always notice the cues to ask other people questions, but Rob Adsom is on the call too. And Rob, maybe put in the chat the name of that group that you guys got involved with in Iowa. I think it was your son or your daughter-in-law or something. Duncan, are you involved in, I know there's like collegiate poker tours and collegiate poker like contests and competitions. Do you guys have a team at UCLA, and are you involved in that at all?
no, unfortunately, not at the moment. But this is actually a great idea. I mean, this is something that I always wanted to do. I mean, there's a lot of logistics.
Yeah.
One of the, I mean, for us who care about the game and we're very interested, we tend to forget sometimes that the game is still illegal in certain parts of this country,
Right.
and definitely certain parts of this world. This is a very, unfortunately, controversial game in the end of the day. Not among us, obviously. I mean, it's clear, but there's a lot of hurdles to overcome. Like for instance, part of the reason why I've been having some pushback to turn this class into a class for credit is essentially, some of the powers to be, so to speak, they're complaining that they're going to hear from so many parents how we're trying to introduce gambling into the school, which is actually the exact opposite. What I would really try to do with poker is to take the gambling part out of it and actually explain that even life is all about taking calculated risks. Incidentally, and I talk about that all the time. One of the things that poker has taught me is that we don't, control our own destiny. There is a lot of luck involved in life, and we got to be ready for it. So people who think that it's all about, you in order to go from A to Z in life, you just have to follow a very specific, carved path and just go from A to B, B to C, and eventually you're going to get there. I mean, we're diluting basically our students. So understanding that there is elements that we don't control and how to account for it, both in life and of course in games, I think can be a great lesson. I mean, that was the number one lesson I learned from poker, and I would be more than happy, to help other people, explore that territory.
Yeah, I love that. We talk about that a lot. You can make the right decisions, and that increases your expected value over time. But variance is a real thing in poker and in life. And we've had guests, Maria Konnikova. We've had other guests that have sort of elaborated on that as well. Jim, did you have a question there?
Yeah, just sort of taking off from that. If some of my friends were considering taking one of your courses and they were more interested in poker than they were in math, what would you tell them to entice them to take the course, or how would you describe the course in a way that got them excited about it?
I would tell them, that they are perfect company, because the classes are concentrated around poker. like I said, I mean, the math is the side part of it. So there's no, it's not that I'm you know, I'm going on the board and I'm starting writing down equations and things like that. But if people at some point, you know, they want a justification, let's say, of something like, let me give you a very simple example of the 2-4 rule, right? I mean, I can explain the math. I can explain, you know, what fractions come into play there. Or, you know, like, why am I indifferent? You know, sometimes people say, you know, your action is indifferent. How do you justify that? Or pot odds, you know, why do I care? How does that translate? I mean, I can show them the numbers, but, you know, it's not that the numbers are the end all be all. So that'll be it. If they're interested in poker, that's exactly what we're doing. I mean, we're dealing with cards, we're dealing with hands, we're dealing with ranges, we're dealing with like every, you know, every concept that the poker player is familiar with. Or at least we're trying to.
Yeah. So at what point, guys, are we going to have Duncan teach a class for Rec Poker Nation?
Yeah,
Let's
sounds
forget
fun.
UCLA. Let's just have you come teach a class. Yeah, this is Rob saying, I want to go to UCLA now.
Anytime you want to.
Oh man, it would be fun to kind of get an academic
sure.
approach to it. I think that would be super fun, super interesting. One of the things that came out in one of the bios I read of you, there's bios about you everywhere, so I was piecing it together. But one thing I'm really interested in, this sort of segues into your book, I believe,
Sure.
as well, is it said this: despite his impressive academic credentials, Duncan's popularity is a product of his love for simple language and metaphors. Profitable poker play essentially revolves around correct risk-reward optimization. This is a complex topic, and Duncan's great strength is that he explains it in simple terms without resorting to technical jargon. So let's talk a little bit about that. Is that just sort of always been your deal? Have you always been able to kind of take these complex things and explain them simply, or has that been somehow you worked on that as part of your becoming a professor? Talk a little bit about those two things, because often as an actuary myself, I know that we don't always explain things in the simplest of terms. And that's a real challenge, I think, for a lot of analytical people. So maybe talk a bit more about that, how you're able to walk that.
Absolutely. So the answer is no. I mean, I wasn't born into it by any means. However, I was kind of raised into it, to be fair. And by that, I mean that my parents, both of them, were teachers, and they would bring this kind of like a teaching approach to the dinner table, you know. So they would try to explain things to us, my sister and I, in ways that we would understand it. And if we didn't, they would try to do it in a different way. And that, you know, slowly but steadily resonated with me. As a matter of fact, this was kind of, I guess you can call it a blessing and a curse at the same time, because I realized that was the thing that it was so embedded in me that it was difficult for me to get away from it in a certain sense. So, but you know, once I embraced it, it's obviously not a curse at all. It's a blessing. It's something that I really like, and I really enjoy interacting with people. So that was the nurture part. So the sort of nature kind of part was that as I realized that as I was growing up, I was presented with opportunities. Again, I was very fortunate. I was presented with opportunities. Sometimes my classmates, sometimes my sister, sometimes my friends. They, you know, when it would come to games or it would come to science questions they had. I really liked science as a kid. They would come to me, they would ask questions, and my goal was, you know, as a kid, I wanted to fit in like every other kid. So my goal was to come the message across. It was incredibly important to me. It wasn't important for me to just give them an answer, because I wanted them to feel, you know, satisfied. I wanted to feel that they learned something, and, you know, that would help me fit in. I was a selfish kid.
Wait, what? A selfish kid? What's that now? Yeah. So you're a normal kid. Okay.
Yeah, I was a normal kid. Yes, I guess so. You could say so. And I realized that, I mean, I realized as an adult that basically that was practice. So, and it was a good practice. And I remember, for example, like that, my first memory of quote unquote teaching something would be when my teacher was not able to teach that day, and it was like, Duncan, you know, you go ahead and explain those math equations. And I was excited about it. You know, I wanted to do it, and that's how it sort of became a thing. And now, in terms of adulthood, right now, and also when I was even writing the book, I'm having these constant conversations, either literally or metaphorically, with students. So when somebody is asking me a question, I actually trying to identify what is it exactly that they're asking me, and go to the root to that question, and try to address it. And often, sometimes when somebody's asking a question, they're not necessarily sure what is it even that they're asking, and we have to dig together to find out what is the root of that question. And if it doesn't resonate, if it doesn't make sense, I will have to try different approaches. Or when I'm formulating an idea, I'm constantly having, so to speak, voices in my head, which is my students. Jim is laughing. Yeah, it is true. Like, my students, always having this. But Duncan, what if my opponent is random? Like, that's a very classic. Like, if my opponent does random things, I have no way of guessing what they're doing. And of course, my answer to that, you're absolutely correct. You have no way of guessing what they're doing, but that doesn't necessarily imply that that strategy cannot be exploited. So you are correct, and then they they would feel like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. He's listening to what I'm saying, but anyway, so to finish, because this is a very, very long thought, but I have their voices in my head, which is basically the reason why the book has something like close to 300 footnotes, because I'm trying to address all the nuance that I know is out there. I mean, I'm trying to simplify concepts, but of course, I'm trying to not oversimplify them. For those people who want to dig deeper and understand the ins and outs of the game, I'm always going to go into the nuance. So
yeah, that's the fine line, right? That's the fine line. You want to make it simple, but then, I know a lot of people that we've had on the show, they're really good poker minds, and they write simple books to help make people understand. But then there's people like us that are saying, yeah, but you didn't really explain it, so it's a fine line to walk. So it sounds like you're trying to kind of walk that line of saying, here's the simple concept, and then, but here, if you want to take it to the next level, it sounds like a good teaching sort of tool, right? If you want to take it to the next level, here's where you go. Chris, did you have something?
Yeah, Duncan, I'm really curious, as somebody who sort of follows poker sort of academically as well as sort of like for sort of pleasure. I think it's really interesting to me how poker is such a draw to some of the like AI research, and and I'm curious if what are the next steps, or the kind of cutting edge research that's kind of going on right now with poker and some of those kinds of things.
This is an excellent question, Chris. And again, I mean, I would say that the answer is multi-level. Like, for example, there is interest in game theory in general, which again has applications not just to poker, but to other games as well. And that research is ongoing, and it has been for many years. Some of you may even know, like the famous. You may have seen the movie of A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe, John Nash. Exactly. That is correct. That is John Nash, who actually made that science really popular in the 50s. So that would be the theoretical framework, but like you said, more applied, we have computer science and artificial intelligence, and people are digging very deeply. I'll write a little bit about it in the book as well, with neural networks and deep learning and all of these, new ideas that people are using in artificial intelligence. And it is incredibly fascinating, because some people may not realize it, but actually the poker is more complex than chess, for example, and chess is one of the most complex games out there. And the reason why poker is so complex is because it's a game of imperfect information. That is, we don't have all the information available. Like, we don't know where our opponent's cards are, or what comes next from the deck. So actually, these are two levels of information we're missing. We're missing what comes next, and we're also missing our opponent's information. And it turns out that computers had a really big trouble being able to navigate this type of game. They did really well in the 90s when it came to chess and also checkers. Checkers is now fully solved. In other words, computers know how to play perfectly, never make a mistake, and they could justify why in checkers. Chess, they're just incredibly good, so good that they can actually beat the world champion. poker, on the other hand, which is it was kind of like the last man standing, so to speak. The AI is not quite there yet. Is not quite there yet in playing perfectly. They can beat heads up as far as I know, and actually they were able to beat limit heads up. But actually, with Carnegie Mellon, the research at Carnegie Mellon, they were able to do no limit as well, and now they keep moving in no limit heads up, and now they keep moving into several players. So slowly but steadily. And of course, this raises several questions. Safety when somebody plays online, and all of these important things.
Yeah, I know, I've read some of the stuff in some of my prior world, doing stochastic simulations, and, now you start talking about, decision trees, and you got stochastic and stochastic and stochastic, and models that run for hundreds and hundreds of hours, if not days, and all these things, like, what the heck? And so I'm kind of curious, like, does that in any way diminish the beauty of just the game? As as recreational players, we're all trying to get better, right? We're all trying to get better. We're all trying to like Alex beating Bobby, right? Like we want to get there. We'll talk about the book, but
Sure.
but in some ways, sometimes I wonder, man, with all these solvers and all of the information, do you feel like it's going to become where the game is just so math heavy that it sort of ruins it for a lot of recreational players? Or do you feel like, nah, it's still going to be, most people are just going to be playing it for fun and trying to learn a few tips here and there?
Right. This is an excellent question, and a very interesting one that I've been thinking myself for a long time. And I think we can. Obviously, it's a very difficult question to answer, in a single sentence. But we've learned some lessons from chess. For instance, people were worried. Right now, undoubtedly, computers are levels ahead of the chess world champion, right? I mean, the chess world champion, Magnus Carlsen, has actually stated in interviews, I would never play the best chess machine. It's just pointless. Like, I will get demolished, and what's the point? They're just so much better, so much better than me. And this comes from the chess champion. However, a few things that we learned is that, first of all, humans are not machines. So even though there are perfect answers in all of these games, even in chess, it's impossible for humans to be able to navigate through all of these possible strategies. I would say, personally, I would say that it's flat out impossible. So that's one lesson that we'll learn from that situation. Now, what happens with technology, they call them engines in the chess world. So here we call them solvers, right? So what happens with the engines, what chess players are doing, they have been doing it for at least a couple of decades. So the first time a computer beat the world champion was in 1997 with Deep Blue, when Kasparov lost to Deep Blue. So they have quite the history of losing to engines. The chess professionals, that is. So what they're doing is they're using the engines as a tool, as a resource to improve their own game while they're studying. So they will try certain strategies while they're looking at the board by themselves at home and they're preparing, and they will just take a second opinion and see what the machine is thinking. None of these players are obviously allowed to bring any technological devices with them at major tournaments, and none of them can actually do the calculations the computer are doing. I would say this is very parallel to poker. This is incredibly parallel to poker. But I would also add, and this is a point of controversy, and I should mention that at the beginning. Like, there's people who disagree with me, and they're very vocal about that. I tend to think that, as someone who's actually studied game theory from the inside, I tend to think that the solvers are not, first of all, are not as necessarily as useful, and sometimes can be detrimental to people who do not know how to use them. And not only are not as useful, I would argue that under the most normal circumstances, they're also not necessary. So, and this is because there is a huge difference between poker and chess. In chess, there is what we would call a best move at every position. So if we had infinite time, when you put down the chessboard, and I don't know how many of you play chess, but I mean, it's basically two armies battling each other, and then you can see where everybody's putting their pieces. At every point, if we were to take a snapshot, there is an objective best move. With poker, it's not so clear, because the best move depends on the opponent's strategy. So the metaphor here, what I like to use is the rock, paper, scissors. I mean, like some of you may have heard me using that if you read some of the things that I'm writing online. But if we're playing rock, paper, scissors, the computer will tell you, oh, if you don't want to be exploited, just randomize, just randomize either rock or paper or scissors. But against someone who is very, let's say, rock heavy or very, very scissors heavy, there are counter strategies that actually yield better results. And since we're actually playing with humans that actually have tendencies versus, some perfect machine that thinks, perfectly, we don't need to randomize. So what would happen in practice, I see a lot of people who make that quote unquote mistake, they would assume, which is the same assumption that the solvers make, that they play against the perfect opponent and they want to try to find what is the perfect adjustment to the perfect opponent. And of course, solvers are approximately correct to that, because there is another issue that solvers are actually not solving the game. So they're solving an approximation to the game. That's another issue, which you can talk at some other point. But the thing is that they're not responding to their opponent's strategy. They're responding to a hypothetical opponent who's not even sitting there. So this is why I'm incredibly skeptical about solvers. And although I think they have their time and place, exactly like the chess players would use them on the side to go over certain spots, I think they can be detrimental if not used properly.
Oh, so interesting. Oh, we could dig into that thing for hours.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love all the different perspectives. I'm curious. I know we're already getting short on time a little bit, but I want to talk about the book a little bit, because I'm interested in the premise of this book and kind of why you wrote it and where you wanted to go with this. But the book is Why Alex Beats Bobby at Poker: Developing a Fundamentally Sound Approach to Poker. And what I read about it is, I didn't have time to read the whole book, but I had time to read some of the excerpts and stuff. But this idea of, boy, why is Alex beating Bobby all the time, right? Why is this an ongoing sort of thing? And so maybe, and I think we have a copy of the book that we're actually going to give away to our member. We have members that are in the chat. We're going to give away a copy of that to the members as well. So we'll do a random draw when we're done with the interview for that, as well as giving away some of the other stuff we're going to do. But Duncan, maybe talk to us a little bit about the book. Why did you write it? What's the premise? Who would be well served to check it out?
Sure. So basically, like the title indicates, what I'm trying to explain through the book in as simply as possible, and again, minus all the footnotes, but as simply as possible, at least in the main core of the book, I'm trying to understand the battle between what I would call, the quote unquote typical professional, who is encapsulated by Alex, and then the typical recreational player who's encapsulated by Bobby. I should actually be careful here. When I say recreational and professional, the way I define those terms in the book, professional is somebody, at least for the purposes of this book, who prioritizes profitability over having fun.
Yeah.
And then a recreational player is somebody who prioritizes having fun over profitability. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. As a matter of fact, I encourage my students, like one of the first things that I would say is that, like limping sometimes can be, not sometimes, I write entire sections of the book about limping and why it hurts profitability. And then my students will still go ahead and limp and have fun because they want a lot of people to get into the pot and then have fun among them, enjoy their drinks and food. And I'm saying, you know what? I'm not going to tell you to change that. You're having fun. That is the number one thing that matters to you, and that's important. So I'm not bashing people who are having fun. I'm not bashing people who want to have profitability, but I'm making this distinction so that we have a starting point: fun versus profitability as goals. And I'm trying to see if someone wants to have fun before and everything else, and someone wants to make profit before anything else. Why is it that the person who wants to have fun, moves money to the person that they want to make a profit? And it turns out that question is not as simple as it sounds. A lot of people, are asking questions like the one that I mentioned before. What if my opponent is completely random, for example? And so I wanted to dissect. I wanted to go deeply and see what kind of sacrifices Alex, who plays for profit, makes, what kind of fun sacrifices, at what point she sacrifices fun for profitability, and what issues Bobby has in terms of profitability, where the fun aspect of it overcomes the profitability issue, and why it matters. And I'm trying, I'm starting from things like innate, what I would call innate properties of the game. An innate property of the game, for those, for example, who play chess, it's a little bit easier to explain in chess, would be that the white pieces start first. That's an innate property. It doesn't matter if you're the world champion or you learn chess today. If you have the white pieces, you go first. Similarly, in poker, we have innate properties: playing in position, playing with initiative, having card advantage. And I'm trying to quantify why these kind of things matter, and why people who are in position, they tend to be more profitable. But that's really the game. Or I will take a bet and I will try to dissect it. What is a value? Like if we were to put a price on a bet, what is the innate price of the bet? What you would call intrinsic value? What is extrinsic value of a bet? And things like that. I'm trying to dissect it and see where the profitability comes from. Basically.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. So if you guys have questions in the chat, put them in the chat, because we got to wind down pretty quick. But I guess my one question out of the book would be, was there anything that surprised you in doing the research, doing the study, writing the book? Was, was it kind of like, well, this is stuff that I know and I'm just going to put it into a book? Or was anything that through the process where you went, that's not what I expected, either one way or the other?
For sure, yeah. I mean, several things actually. The biggest one is that this is not an easy question, because a lot of people will say, for example, it's kind of a running joke among professionals. Oh, playing against, they like to call them fish. Playing against the fish, it's easy. I do not think it is. So I do not think it is, and there's a lot of things that one has to be very aware of, and their own tendencies, and the sacrifices that the professional has to make. So that would be a very surprising factor for me, how difficult of a question that was. The other thing is that there were actually surprising connections that I found with other games that I wasn't expecting. Like, for instance, one surprising, you can call it discovery. Somebody might call it a triviality, depending on how easy they think things are. But one of the things that I discovered is actually poker, in terms of games, goes 3 levels deep in its complexity compared to, for example, chess. So chess is a game of perfect information. Everybody knows what the other person is doing. Everybody sees the moves. Backgammon, on the other hand, is a game of perfect information, but nobody knows what the outcome of the die is going to be next. So there is an extra layer to it. So we can see the board, but we don't know what the roll is going to be. Poker does the same thing. We don't know what the turn is going to be. We don't know what the next card is going to be. But then there's an extra layer, and that layer is we don't also know what the cards are. So poker goes into what I call the 3 levels of ignorance. So we have the third level of ignorance, because again, chess also has a level of ignorance, and that is you don't know your opponent's strategy. So in chess, you don't know your opponent's strategy. In backgammon, you don't know your opponent's strategy. You also don't know what the die will bring. And in poker, you don't know your opponent's strategy. You don't know what the deck would bring, and you don't know what your opponent is holding. So there's like 3 levels of ignorance. To me, that was surprising. That was very surprising. I was sitting to myself, and I was like, I either stated the most obvious thing in the world, or I'm too slow. I should have seen that earlier, but anyway. So
that's interesting. Yeah, I feel like I'm in the right place now. There's 3 levels of ignorance, so I feel like I'm in the right spot. I've finally found my the sweet spot in my life. I need a T-shirt, 3 levels of ignorance. Duncan.
Yeah, you got to make the T-shirt for that one, Steve.
Oh, I love that. Well, guys, any other questions from you guys? Obviously, this is fascinating stuff, and it's clearly obvious why your courses sell out. They fill up so quick. Obviously, you're a very engaging guy, very smart guy, and you have a lot of fun, I'm sure, as you're teaching some of the stuff. So I'm not surprised, and hopefully that'll continue. But anybody in the panel, any other questions that are burning inside you at all?
I'm just looking forward to having you back. Yeah.
Here's a question. I'm not going to go to UCLA and sign up for your course, unfortunately.
You're in California now, Rob. Aren't you going there tomorrow?
No, I'm in Nevada. Come on. And anyway, California's on lockdown, so everybody's coming from California over to here. But anyway, if I'm not in your class, can I take read your book and get kind of the same type of instruction that you would assume to get in your class? Is there really a big connection there?
I think, at least that's my goal. I mean, only time will tell if I succeeded, but my goal is to put everything in order in the same way that I would present it to somebody else. And that's why I put all of these footnotes, because I really wanted to answer questions before they were asked. I was doing my best, at least to the best of my abilities. But yeah, that was my intention for sure.
I love the footnotes are for the writer, not for the reader. You know that.
I know. I'm so guilty about that. I apologize to the reader, right? I apologize to the reader and say, listen, you guys can skip it. You can skip it if you want. They're not going to break any continuity. But I know there's going to be this one person who says, but Duncan, what if, my opponent does that, So I felt kind of compelled to put them there.
I just can't stop putting footnotes. Help me. Oh, that's funny. Well, all right. So folks, obviously, if you're out in Southern California, oh, there it is. We get if you're watching this on video, we're getting copies of some footnotes here.
That says footnotes, like note on the footnotes. I don't know if you probably cannot see it.
Oh, yeah, we can see a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's, I put it there, footnote warning.
But even there, it looks like the footnotes are actually readable and understandable versus some footnotes are not so much. So it's like a bonus book. It's like you wrote volume 2 in the footnotes. So if people are out in California, obviously they can take the course if they're going to UCLA or whatever, but how can people connect with you if they're like, man, I kind of like how this guy thinks. I want to be connected with this perspective. So I know when things are come out next or whatever. What's the best way for people to connect with you?
I would say probably Twitter. I like to, put some of my thoughts there. I like Twitter also because it forces me to be very condensed. I don't always succeed, but Twitter I have. So my Twitter is ask the math dr. Ask the math, as in ask the math doctor. This is actually this is the same URL as my website, and it's unfortunately the only URL I found available at the time. So it's not the name I would have chosen, but it is what it is. So it's a little bit pretentious sounding. I don't like it very much, but
Ask the math doctor. Well, no, I like it, and the website's good. It's got good info. The Twitter stuff is good, and if you have trouble finding Duncan, reach out to us and we'll connect you. But we'll put that in the show notes as well. So anything else as we wrap up that's coming down the pike that we should know about, or anything else you want to talk about quick that we hadn't shared?
No, I don't know if anybody has any questions of any kind. I'll be happy to answer them.
Oh, I don't know what just happened there. I think I lost my sound or something, but can you guys hear me okay? Okay, I don't know what just happened to me, but okay, Duncan. Well, man, thanks for jumping on here. That was fantastic. Good stuff. The book sounds fantastic. I know Rob leads our book study, so now we've got another candidate to put in there to maybe study that. And if we do study that, we'll have you back on and talk about it. Otherwise, Jim, I think we need to get this guy back on again. He's a fount of knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll be in touch, Duncan.
Absolutely.
All right, Duncan. Well, thanks again. We're gonna transition. I do have a big announcement for the crew too as well, but we're gonna transition to some of our community stuff. So you're welcome to jump off now, and we'll be in touch as far as next steps on some different things.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. I hope you have a wonderful year. I know the last year was not that ideal, so let's hope this one is a little bit better. And stay safe and healthy out there, and we'll be in touch. Thank you very much for having me.
Cheers.
All right,
Thanks,
Duncan.
Thanks so much, Duncan.
Take care. All right, so we have a copy of the book to give away. We have a free drawing to give away, and I've got an announcement, and we have an ad to run. Jim, what's the order that you want to do these things?
Oh boy. Why don't we roll for who gets to win a copy of Duncan's book right now?
All right.
We've got this. We've got some Duncan momentum. So we've got 10 attendees, and if you are in the continental United States, you will get a hard copy. Otherwise, an e-version. We got the D10 nerd die. Let's see what we got. 7, starting from the top, counting down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Martha, I happen to know, is going to get an e-copy because she does not live in the continental United States. Congratulations, Martha. You're going to love that.
Nice. That means Jim's probably going to get a copy of the book. Is probably what that means.
Yeah, you never know. Never know. Never know what might happen. I don't know. What do you want to do
I want to
next?
see the 7.
Yeah. I should be taping it, right?
Nice. Congratulations, Martha.
Yeah, she'll enjoy that.
All right. So,
what do you think?
I think let's roll the commercial, and then we'll come back and I'm going to review a couple things. I do have an announcement to share, so we'll come back to that deal. Then we'll do the other drawing piece. So feel free to hit it whenever you're ready.
Wondered whether you should call a preflop raise or 3-bet instead? What do you do when you have a flush draw? Do you raise it or do you just call? What do you do with ace king when you miss the flop? Are you tired of guessing about what the right play is with your particular hand? Well, my name is Jonathan Little, and I am a 2-time World Poker Tour champion and creator of PokerCoaching.com, where we offer over 1,000 interactive hand quizzes where you play a hand and then get real-time feedback from our world-class pros. Don't guess and don't stress. Just register for your free account at PokerCoaching.com/recpoker right now.
All right, there he is. Now I just got to remember to unmute myself at the end of that thing. Fantastic stuff. All right, so here's the announcement. You guys don't even know this yet. This is literally breaking news. I don't know what the sound is, but okay. So we know that we're having free Jat, and the training course starts February 3rd. We know that in the past he's brought in a special guest for one of the sessions, and so I've been asking him if he knows who that is yet or not. He literally, as we started recording, got back to me on what the plan is. And so he said, and I'll do a little bit of a tease here, but this person is going to help him coach at least 3 classes. So he's really he's a special guest / assistant coach, but going to help him with at least 3 of the 10 classes. And the person is Martin Jacobson.
Oh, sweet.
Right?
It's going to be a fun
2014
one.
World Series of Poker main event winner, Martin Jacobson, is going to be assisting Fareed in the training of this course. So I said, can I announce this? Are we locked in? Are we sure? Like, I don't want to say anything that isn't sure. He said, no, he's going to help me with at least 3 classes. So obviously things can change, but according to Fareed, that is the deal. So that's a pretty big deal. So I wasn't sure. We were hoping maybe, will it be Bryn Kenny? Will it be, somebody else that maybe we're not, we don't have the same track record history of, but that's pretty cool. So, so Martin Jacobson is going to be part of the Fareed training. If you're wondering about what this is that we're talking about, go to rec.poker/Fareed, Farid. He's doing a 5-week, 10-session, 2 hours per session course exclusively for Rec Poker. We couldn't be more thrilled about this thing, and we're chomping at the bit for it. Jim, go ahead.
And if you can do some pretty simple math, I'll tell you that the course is normally $1,000, but if you buy a premium membership at Rec.Poker for $15, then it's only $8.50. So that feels like a good trade if someone wants to trade $15 in membership for $150 off the course. So go to rec.poker/Fareed and secure your spot in the course now. Start soon.
And you can get, we're giving these giveaways. We got Facebook Live drawings, got these drawings. You show up to a member event, you can get drawn and win $50 off. If you've already purchased the course, we'll just refund you $50. So why don't we do that now, Jim, too? Why don't we take care of that?
Should we just give it to Ben, or should we actually roll the dice? It's going to be Ben anytime, right? It's like Ben every time.
What number is Ben? We should see what number Ben is.
Can we take actually, I think Ben might have reached the max on this. Can we adjust the bylaws here? Okay, here we go.
Oh, yeah, we're only 200 max. You can only win up to $200 in coupons.
He might actually already be up to 200. All right,
let's roll a 1 though for Ben, I think.
It's a 4.
Nope.
Let's start at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Jacob, congratulations, Jacob. You're going to get a $50 credit toward the purchase of either the Fareed Jatton course or the Rec Poker Learning Together package, which is only $250, which is a lot of fun.
Do you think we can really handle Jacob being any better?
That's a good point. Wait a second. Was that a 4 or a 9?
Yeah, no. That was, shoot, a mistake.
Oh, shoot. Yeah.
Hey, I do have a little breaking news on Jacob too. Him and I went back and forth a little bit over the past week, and I do know how to say his name. So, because I'm assuming I haven't looked, but I'm assuming John's going to have to say it today, him or his dad.
Probably.
Yeah, I do.
Forward. It's Kiki. It's Kiki.
Kiki.
So it's like Kiki Vandeweghe if you're an old basketball fan, but Kiki. So we've been wondering, is it Keek? Is it Kika? Whatever. So it's Kiki. So there you go.
All right. Well, Jacob, email me, Jim at rec.poker, to remind me that you are now the proud owner of a $50 coupon.
Yeah, nice work. All right. So what do we have any other business to take care of before we transition into the home games and stuff? I think we've reached that part of the program, right?
I could do a little forums announcement, I guess. I could just interrupt John with this. Should we wait that? No, let's no. Okay,
we'll have
I'll
plenty
just
to
jump
interrupt
out
him with.
it. Yeah, that's a good point. That's as long as there's something.
We'll come up with something.
So starting by the time you hear this, we will be inviting premium members to join us for the taping of the forums edition of the podcast. So if you're a premium member at Rec.Poker, if you've got a forum post that you'd like to talk to the panel about on the air, just go to the calendar of the event schedule, click on the link to come join the forums edition of the podcast, just like you did today to come join this one. And we can come talk poker, my favorite thing in the world.
Sweet. And I might as well go ahead and make my announcement before we get into John too, just with the Reckies award show, just because this is tomorrow. Now, if you're listening to this when it releases, the Reckies is tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. So 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern, on the 27th of January. And just to give you a list of a few folks. So we got a ton of awards. Danny Schneider, Colin Anderson been putting this thing together. It's amazing. We've been working with the pros to get them to read off some of the winners. Now, clearly, this isn't all of the categories, but we got folks like Zach Elwood, Kale Cleaton, Sky Matsuhashi, Jonathan Little, Tommy Angelo, Nate Mavis, Lexi Gavin, Fareed Jadden, Adam Friedman, Maria Ho, Dutch Boyd, Robbie Straczynski, Merv Harvey, Diva Byrne, Chris Moneymaker, Daro Kearney, Sarah Herring, Elliot Rowe, Ryan LaPlante, Chad Holloway, and a couple others that are planning on giving away awards. So should be fun. Matt Berkey probably too. He just got a hold of me today, said, I want to do one. All right, let's figure out. I just texted Colin and Danny, said, what other awards do we have to give away? Berkey wants to give one out. So it's going to be fun, you guys. It's going to be the funnest 8-hour award show we've ever had.
And a couple giveaways and prizes too, right?
Yeah, we're giving away all kinds of stuff.
There's a month at LPP coming up for grabs. Some more of these Fareed courses. There's all sorts of fun stuff. So come join us.
Yeah, we're gonna find some stuff too to give away too. So yeah, we're planning on doing it an hour and a half. I'm just scaring you about the 8 hours, but it should be fun. So January 27th, 6:30 p.m. Central, and some of the stuff we're giving away will be for the people that are on. They're actually there watching it live. So we are going to record it. It will be available later. But the stuff that we're giving away will be for the folks that are in attendance. All right. I'm excited. John, what do you got? You got anything going on at all? You do anything around here anymore? There's
No, not
home
really.
Games, right?
Not really. But I thought I'll start by interrupting myself and say I've got $20 on the over for the hour and a half.
It would take some pretty good odds for me to bet against that, John.
One of our members, sorry, John, just cut you off there for a second. One of our members in the chat is Ben's asking, is Steve singing "O Canada"? I don't know, Steve. You going to warm up the pipes for the award show?
I'm under your guys' direction. Now I've heard most of what I've heard is that we're going to wait and do it live, but there may be some element of it or something. I'm not sure yet.
I think it's been so delayed that we have to do it twice, once live and once virtually.
Yeah, I like what Chris is saying. I like the sound of that. Yeah.
I don't like any of you people. So we may kick it off with a little bit just as a tease. But if I'm doing the whole thing at the award show, I'm not doing it again unless there's some other international run.
Ben, I think if you show up, you'll have a good time. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, and Kim had asked if we're dressing up. We haven't talked about that. You guys dressing up? I might dress up a little bit just for fun.
I think that's a great fun.
I don't have a class, but I might wear a shirt and tie. You won't know that I'm just wearing shorts, but I'll have the Zoom mullet going on, right? The business on the top and the party on the bottom.
Mullet, I love it. Yeah,
I might dress
I'll spiff up a little. I'm not shaving, but I'll put on a tie. Maybe you never know.
Nice. All right, John. We'll try you again here.
Okay. So we had started a brand new season on the mixed game series. Really excited to have a different winner this year. Let someone else shine. And of course, Patty 98, Mike Patrick comes in and wins the very first mixed game 5-card draw tournament of the year.
The guy is so good, and he had a really good, I was looking, we were like down to 2 tables. We all had like 20, 30,000 chips, and all of a sudden we get to the final table and Mike's got like 95,000. I'm like, what happened? He's like, well, flopped full house against a flopped flush against flopped trips. So there you go in 5-card draw, or not flopped, but dealt, I guess the word.
Yeah. Death, taxes, and Mike Patrick.
Good job, Mike.
Yeah, and I think Chad McVean had the runner-up in that one too.
Yeah.
Good to see two of my favorite Canuckians battling it out head to head.
It probably was.
Yeah, I think they're gonna. I mean, it could be just karma until Steve sings "O Canada." Maybe we just can't get away from Canadian winners.
Yes,
I don't know.
Wow.
that's right. He's
Wow.
onto something. He's onto something there. Oh, I love that, John.
The other big event we had this last week was the Daily Series Tournament of Champions that took place on Monday, January 11th. And LTP4 of Spades, Brandon Smith won that. And I remember an episode or so ago, I talked and I didn't know what LTP stand for. It's some type of poker club of his. I
Yep.
don't remember what the names stood for. But anyway, it's a group of friends who got together, much like Rec Poker, played a bunch of poker, and that's where he got his screen name. So
Yeah,
kind of
he
a
explained
cool
I forget the
nice-
name of it too, and then but the 4 of spades is his favorite card in the deck.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I think anyone who has a favorite card or favorite hand has
Yeah.
something a little off. with
And
it.
puts their
a little-
name and uses that in their name. 5, 5, 5.
Chris is giving you the side eye pretty mean.
Yeah. I deserve it. Then for our daily series, Wolfman 109 and Adam Wolf got
Nice.
his first daily series win of the year. Keck Geek,
Congratulations, Adam.
Mark
Sorry, we got
Kiki.
to shout out Adam here because ARW is maybe the most comprehensive forum poster at rec.poker. So congratulations, Adam. You earned that one.
And then we have Keck Geek, Mark Kiki,
Yes.
got his first daily series victory of the year.
No
Keck
surprise.
Geek 65 then came back the next night, Jacob Kiki, and got his second daily
Back
series
to back?
victory of the year. Back
No,
to back.
Oh my god.
And
Bobby's
that's
son.
Jacob's
Oh,
11th victory
yeah.
overall.
Wow.
So then JBT Twin Cities, Joanne Bird got her first victory of the year. Gloves 1010, Colin Anderson got his first daily series victory of the year.
Nice.
Evil Roy CA, another Canadian,
That's right. We're
won
taking
the
over.
daily mixed series or daily mixed practice tournament.
Mm.
Oh,
And then
Canadians
we
in the
have-
mixed game, man.
Prac-
Yeah. Well, we
Practice?
have nothing to do up here. It's dark most of the year.
Practice? Are we talking about practice? Practice? We're
Yeah,
talking
Ben,
about
you say
practice,
it, Ben.
man.
We all got to practice. So then, just Ben Enslow's asking if we can skip the international events.
Yeah.
So do you think we should skip them?
I
I mean,
let's-
it's so
let's pass.
predictable.
I guess I've
after-
already put them in the spreadsheet.
Just think how bad it could
so-
have been, though. I know you're going to talk about this, but just think how bad it could have been. This thing you're about to read out.
True. So Magra 44, Doug Drabeck won both international tournaments on Saturday. That's the 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. tournaments. And those
Wow.
are his first 2 international victories of the year. He's had
Hmm.
9 of them total. So
Jesus.
come out on
God.
Saturday morning and don't let Doug win anymore.
Yeah, let's make this a little harder for Doug on Saturday's team. Let's get out there into these international series.
We're all just ganging up on Doug.
Yeah, Ben's
He can't help
Ben's
himself.
in there. He's trying.
He just keeps winning. I'm in there. I can't beat the guy. It's unbelievable.
I've played a few of them too, and I haven't had any luck.
Doug says it was a long day Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Doug.
Congrats, Doug. Yeah, because
A
John's
long
going to get to the
day.
next one, too.
Well, yeah, because then was it that one that we had JGRT1110? That's Chona. Is that how you pronounce her name?
Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Chona Bittang, or Bitting, got her first daily series victory of the
Mhm.
year.
But it was in the one that gloves that Colin won. That was the other one. That was the nightly one that Doug went second place on.
Is that the one? I know there was
Yeah.
another one that he went
Yeah.
and got a second
The
place.
3
in.
that day was he went.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
he
right.
almost went 3 for 3 on the
won
same
the
day.
afternoon, and then runner up to Colin, and that's
Oh
kind of
my
virtually
God.
railing Colin a little bit there. That night, second place, Doug got crazy.
Oh my God.
I'm beginning to wonder
beast.
whether or not he has his name recorded on the Rec Poker site or if he needs to be suspended.
Yeah, I thought I looked there. I didn't see it. It looked a little fuzzy. Maybe it was my
Yeah.
screen, but
Some sort of
I-
violation.
But seriously, it's very impressive.
It is.
We definitely have some powerhouse players here.
hmm.
Yep, for sure. Well, thanks,
congrats,
John. I
John.
know what are we doing now? 10 tournaments a week or something. There's a
It's
lot
actually
going
more
on.
than that. It's actually more than that.
Is it more than that with the
I think
TOC
it
and the
is.
practice and everything now?
Yeah.
But
Oh,
super
man.
fun. And I honestly, there's not a week that's gone by for the last several months that, first of all, we get a lot of people saying, thanks for doing this. And I just say, thank John. But I always get people saying, hey, can we add a Sunday? Can we add a Tuesday afternoon? Can we add a whatever? And I'm trying to keep the lion at the gate, John, but there's a huge demand for it. I think it's partially the play, but partially the play because people know that they're going to get a good game. They're going to learn something as they go. And then there's always the community elements of it too. But
yeah, it'll shock John to hear that Steve doesn't actually just start a new tournament every time someone asks. There's actually some restraint.
This is constrained. This is what this is.
It was kind of interesting Saturday night. Some of you know I also host a Papes series. Yeah. And Saturday was the day that was Papes as well. So we had 4 rec poker tournaments plus 2 Papes tournaments. So the next day I had 6 tournaments to record in the morning. And the Papes ones are still a little bit more manual and require a little more work. So it's definitely keeps me busy.
Yeah, well, it's amazing, John. At some point, he's just going to be like, I'm done. That's it. But
hey, at least now the Vikings and the Steelers aren't playing on Sundays anymore. So we've got a little more time on Sundays.
Right.
Opened our schedules right up.
Well, yeah, good stuff, John. Thanks.
Too soon? Okay.
Yeah, too soon. Wow, we knew ours was going to happen. You probably had some.
I adopted the Buffalo Bills in like week 2, so I still got a team left.
Nice, I love it. That'd be fun. That'd be a fun story.
I wanted Cleveland Buffalo. That would be such a sweet AFC championship. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Well, anything? Okay, so John, anything else on the home game stuff, John?
Nope, that's it.
All right, thanks for everything. How about Chris, Rob? Any updates you guys want to give, Chris?
Well, I just coming up, in Memberland, it's going to be a lot of flop. We're going to be talking about a lot of flops. So the member seminar in February is going to be talking about flop texture. And the focus, if you haven't joined the focus and you don't know what it is, or you're kind of curious, it's our study group. It's been, we're going to take the month of February off and we're coming back in March. But you can find the posts on the forum. You just ask to join the group. And we're looking at one flop. And we're going to break it down in a lot of different ways, from in position, from out of position, from starting with our entire range. And I think it should be a really valuable conversation. So
sweet.
Come join us.
And we're not talking about basketball flops, right? Or soccer flops.
Right. Nope.
Because I'm kind of done with flops in professional sports.
Poker flops.
Okay, good. Rob, you got anything for the book study?
Yeah, we got about 11 books on the list here for March. So I think somehow I'm going to have to put out some sort of a survey out there and see if I can get people to narrow it down to see which book is really the one that we want to go after. But I'm getting a lot of reaction. A lot of people have been sending me some tweets on, the books that they want us to study. So we got a nice long list, and I think I just have another book to add to it.
Yeah.
That we just talked about today. So.
And you're looking at, so we got the free training. So you're looking at kind of restarting the book study sometime mid-March.
In March.
Or so.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
March.
Yeah. So you guys heard it. If you got ideas for Rob, or follow him on Twitter and make sure that you cast your vote when the time comes. All right, guys. Well, anything else for the good of the order? We're all no, everybody's good. All right. Well, I think what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up there. Make sure you go ahead and check out Rec Poker, sign up for the newsletter. Thanks to our sponsors, Running Aces, Racetrack, Casino, and Hotel, smallbusiness.com. Thanks to our guests, man. That was super fun. That was super fantastic. Thanks to the panel. Thanks to everybody that jumped on there, and we'll chat with you next week.